Hi. Hello, everyone. This is Caroline with the Expat Interviews Thriving Abroad, where we get an opportunity to meet with the most amazing, fabulous, fearless people that are living their best life all over this beautiful globe. And I'm very pleased and honored to bring to you today Chante, who's living her best life in a country that we don't often hear a lot about in the expat circles. And today you're going to get to hear how she made this country, Egypt, her now home. Thank you so much, Chante.
No worries. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So where are you from originally? Let's begin with where your origins are from. Where?
Well, I'm from a little small city called Portsmouth, Virginia. You will never hear of it unless you're driving through it or by it. It's a part of the Hampton Roads area. People may recognize the name Virginia Beach or Norfolk before they'll recognize Portsmouth, but it's right there in that little area.
I've been to Virginia Beach. So, and now you're in Egypt. How long have you been there?
It'll be a year in August. So we're a few months shy of a year.
Okay, so you're fairly new to that country. Is this your first expat journey, or have you ventured out prior to this? To other
I
places?
began my expat journey in 2018. I lived in Fiji for a couple of years.
Oh, in Fiji, what was that like?
It was beautiful. It was really nice. I lived in the capital city, Suva. And so Suva is not the postcard Fiji that everyone is familiar with. It's the capital city. So it's a little grungier, but it became home. I loved it. And then the postcard Fiji is a matter of like a 45-minute drive up the highway.
Wow, that would be great for another interview all about Fiji. So tell me a little bit about how you made it to Egypt. What is your role there? What are you doing?
Excuse me. Well, I am in international education. So when my time was up in Fiji, I began looking for another place. Sorry. And Egypt, it presented an opportunity. It's a historical place. I mean, it goes all the way back to biblical days before history was actually recorded as we know it today. So it's like, okay, Egypt, let's go.
Yeah, so it wasn't one of those countries where you had, dreamed about it for years and decided, oh, I'm finally going to make this my next destination.
No, for me, when I started the international journey, I really because I'm approaching now to a point where I feel as though I need to do a little bit more research and get a little bit more settled. But my approach was I'll go wherever the wind blows me. And that's really how I ended up in Fiji. That's how I've ended up in Egypt. For me, I've always wanted to travel. I've always wanted to live internationally. I love culture. So when an opportunity presents, it's like, okay, let's try it.
That's really good. And I'm assuming that you are single, so you do have the luxury of being able to, or without children maybe, and so you can just go wherever, whenever.
Actually, I have 2 children along with me on this journey.
No.
I have 3 children in total. My oldest is 23. He's still in the States. But I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old with me.
Okay. So that does add a little bit of a different element. What is it like to be a mom in Egypt? And because they're both they're both underage, so they have special requirements of you as a mom and schooling and how do you plan all of that out? That's a lot to handle.
Well, like I said, my oldest is 23, and unfortunately, well, for better or for worse, I've actually enjoyed my single parent life. When I speak to some married people, I think I live a happier life than some of the married people I know. So it's single parenting becomes second nature, and it's funny because I did start a blog. I'm not going to recommend anybody follow it because it's not monitored and taken care of like it should, but it's called Single Parenting Abroad, and the little catchphrase is, you can single parent anywhere. So, if your kids are with you, wherever you are in the world, you are a single parent. So you learn how to do it. As far as living internationally, again, I'm working in education. So the beauty of working in education, if you have children, is that your children go to school where you work. So, that's taken care of. As long as I have a job in education, they have a school. And so as far as like navigating the travel with them, like I said, we've been living internationally since 2018. They travel better than some adults at this point. They know what devices they need to bring, and they download their movies and their music, whatever they want to entertain them while they're traveling. They have their own little luggage. So when I say, okay, we're going back to the States to visit home, they pack their stuff, we get all of our things, and we go. When I say it's time for us to go back to home, again, whether that's in Fiji or Egypt, they're like, okay, they can't wait to get back, because it's now their home.
Well, that's really, really nice to hear that they are so well adapted to that lifestyle. So now they're in a predominantly Muslim country. Are they learning Arabic?
Yes, they are learning Arabic. I don't think that they'll become fluent. It is a difficult language, but they're learning, I think it's important that if you're not going to learn the entire language, you need to learn certain phrases. I'm from the South, so being courteous is something that I grew up with. So we definitely try to learn the good morning, good afternoon, how are you, the basics. So they're coming along with those.
How are you viewed in the Egyptian culture as a single mom?
Well, and I don't think it's actually come up in dealing with the locals. What I've noticed more is how I'm treated as a woman versus how I'm treated as a mom. As a woman, what's what I'm looking for? Disregarded a lot. And my struggle, and I recognized it as a single parent. Again, I don't think any of the locals have kind of recognized that I'm a single parent, but as a single parent, I have to conduct all of our business. I have to be able to go talk to someone about, my internet. I have to go talk to someone about my phone bill. When we were purchasing furniture, I'm the one discussing how the purchase is going to be made and things are delivered. And a lot of times I felt disregarded and ignored. And I don't think that's the case again for those who are married. The woman is disregarded or ignored, but she can still get the things done that she needs to get done because her husband is there to kind of have that conversation. So for me, it took some getting used to how men interact with me. And I had to be a little bit more independent, which again, single parents usually are anyway. And I had to be a little bit more assertive about the things that I needed and how I needed them.
Would you say that's part of the Islamic culture, or is that just Egypt as a singular country?
I would say it's more Egypt, though Egypt has the connotation of being an Islamic country. It really isn't solely Islamic. It has a large Christian community, but the Christian community is more traditional. It is, man is the head of the house and the woman comes second. So it's not just that they're Islamic, it's just the culture.
Okay, so that would be something that a potential expat person would have to take into consideration. And you're in the capital city. How would you compare it, if you can, to, say, living in the United States as far as, access to food and transportation and, the infrastructure? I know that we're under some restrictions now with everything going on in the world, but, putting aside all of that, how is it, in general, life there as compared to maybe someone, who's never been out of the country and experiencing Egypt for the first time?
In some ways, it's actually more convenient than the US. For instance, you can have anything delivered to your home, anything. So I rarely go out for groceries because I have an app on my phone where I can order everything that I need and someone will deliver it to me. And it's not as costly, because when I did live in the States, Kroger was kind of my go-to, and I know they have a delivery and a pickup service. I think Walmart does too, but it's not as costly. And so if I want something delivered, it comes. I don't do this, but I know others that do, and probably because my self-care isn't that great. But if you wanted your nails done, if you wanted a massage, if you wanted your hair done, all of these people come to your house, and it's not, again, a costly thing. I Uber everywhere. I don't own a car. So, and again, my Uber from here, from my house to the nearest mall, it costs me $2 to $3, $2 to $3 US, to get to the nearest mall in an Uber. So we Uber everywhere. And I actually like that. I don't want to own a car. The surroundings, that's the part for me that kind of took some getting used to. In Cairo specifically, I can't really speak for too much outside of Egypt, outside of Cairo, because when I go outside of Cairo, it's usually to a resort. But in my local community, a lot of the buildings are run down, for lack of a better word. It's really interesting because, first of all, the architecture is gorgeous. The architecture is very old school. And when you think old Middle East, this is what you kind of envision in your head. So the architecture is gorgeous, but you'll have this beautifully laid out building right next to a building that looks almost burnt out. And it's partly, from what I've heard, it's partly because when a developer builds something, but if there are no occupants for it, they don't put up windows, they don't put up doors, they don't put anything in it because the government will charge them for it. They'll tax them for it. That's just what I've heard. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but what I'm seeing again are these gorgeous old buildings that are really well done. The stonework is beautiful, the ironwork is beautiful. And then right next to it, you have something that looks like it's completely abandoned. So that's kind of disheartening, but you know.
It's kind of like that here in Mexico also. In a way, there's a lot of foreigners that come here and they purchase property, rundown homes, and they turn them into mansions, and then they're right next door to a local who has a tattered looking house. So that's kind of pretty common here also. So would you say, just in general, that cost of living is affordable? As far as just an affordable lifestyle, can you live affordably, as I guess we can put in parentheses?
I think you can. I'm going to be honest, for me, being a single parent and wanting to live the lifestyle that I've become accustomed to, living internationally, it did cause like a little financial struggle, because I took what would be a pay cut because I was told that the cost of living was so much cheaper. But again, my family, since we've left the States, we've always had a housekeeper. We've always traveled. Like I said, when I leave Cairo, we're going to a resort. My daughter is hilarious. What resort are we going to next, mommy? Like it's just secondhand, like it's just something that we've always done, which isn't the case. In the States, we didn't live that way. So trying to live the lifestyle that I've now become accustomed to, it's a little bit harder. We do have a housekeeper, but when I'm planning our trip to a resort, I'm planning a little bit more carefully because I have to count my ducats, my dimes. But what I've noticed that a lot of people who come here directly from the States who haven't lived anywhere else internationally, they're loving it. It's like, because again, this is their first experience to actually be able to afford someone to come help clean their house and, to be able to go and travel. Because in the States, you're lucky if you can travel once a year on vacation. So they come and they love it. But for me, I'm noticing, this is a little financially tighter than I had expected. So it's definitely affordable. Again, I'm talking about resorts and a housekeeper. So it's definitely affordable.
What about the expat community there? Do you have an opportunity to mingle?
A little. With the school that I work, everyone, well, I won't say everyone, it's an international school. So, they pull a lot of expats into international schools. So I've gotten to know the expat community here through my school. With it being COVID, I don't do a lot of socializing because again, have to be careful. But I have gotten to know some of them, and it's a pretty big community. And there's actually a pretty big African American expat community.
Yes. Does it feel like Africa living in Egypt? I know a lot of people have said that they're kind of like they're on the continent, but they're not really a part of it. The feel is different. What is your take on it?
The feel is different and the attitude is different. One of the things I do like is that it is a multicultural city. There are people from Sudan here. There are people from Nigeria here. And again, there are African Americans here, people from France, lots of places. But unfortunately, our darker skinned folk aren't treated as well. And in speaking with Egyptians, they themselves don't necessarily feel as though they're African. They identify more as Middle Eastern. So unfortunately, there's, negative treatment in the history of Africans by Middle Easterners. So, and that is known and it's seen here. Myself and one of my coworkers, when I do go out and about, it's with her. And we're always asked, are you African? And we're like, no, we're American. And then their whole attitude changes because we don't identify as African.
That's interesting and good to know for someone that wants to make. I know of a lot of people that do want to expat to the continent of Africa, and I say this in almost every video. Just because you go to Africa and you might be a person of color does not mean that you automatically become African. Or you're just not automatically accepted. I mean, if you're American, you're going to be American no matter what country you go to. It really doesn't matter. So that's really interesting that you say that, and I really want to enforce that so people don't think that oh yeah, I'm just going to blend in wherever I go, and people are just going to embrace me, and you are a foreigner. You are an expat. You are a foreigner wherever you go. One of the last things I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice for someone who is contemplating changing their lifestyle? We are in a time right now where many people are considering changing their life, moving abroad. Perhaps women with children that want to give their children a different experience. What advice would you give them for someone that wanted to embark on this journey that you have?
Well, it's do your research. And I belong to different expat groups, and I always hear people say, well, should I just come? And for me, again, as a woman with kids, a single parent with kids, I would not, and I could not. I would have to make sure that I had employment before I go. Because the last thing I would want is for myself and my children to end up homeless in a foreign country. That's not a good look. But secondly, also, don't think over it for too long. It's make your plan and go. For me, it is just like any other move. If I were in Virginia and I decided to move to Georgia, I would still have to make sure I had a job. I would still have to make sure that I had what I needed to survive in that place. And then I said, do the research, know where you want to go, research the customs, research the people. When I came to Egypt, I knew that there was an undertone of racism in Egypt when I came. So I knew what to expect. And honestly, I haven't experienced it that much. But the fact that I was prepared for it when it did happen, it wasn't a shock. It didn't ruin it for me. Because oh no, I can't believe this is happening. No, it's happening. And it's not necessarily that all of Egypt is bad. It's this person has a problem, and that's that. So, but do it, go for it. I think in the entire experience, my children have gained so much. Again, our lifestyle has changed tremendously. And we've enjoyed the journey.
Speaking of journey, is Egypt it for you, or are you putting out your compass out there in the world looking for other places to explore in the future?
I am looking at other places to explore because I am a single parent. And again, we've enjoyed Egypt, but the idea of having to take up room, as people say, that's never been comfortable for me. With everything else that I have to do, I try to lessen stressors as much as I can and lessen fight as much as I can. As a single parent, living internationally, working a full-time job, they're just some things I don't have time for. So I am looking at other places. And even then, wherever we go next may not be our last place. As I said, my two children are 10 and 13. So by the time we actually move on, one will be entering high school. And then by the time the other one leaves high school, the other one will be in the middle of high school. So as a parent and as a counselor, I know that those teenage years are very important. They don't do well with, again, a lot of bouncing around. They like to stay in one place to make friends. So wherever we go next, that will be our longest placement, because I need for them both to finish high school. But then after that, I'm looking at retiring. So it's like, where do I want to actually spend the rest of my days? Actually, Mexico is on my list of possible retirement locations. So we may have 2 more moves, or at least one final move in the works.
Sounds good. Chante, thank you so much for sharing your story, your incredible story with us. How can someone connect with you if they had any questions or they wanted to reach out?
Well, I do have an email address that I'm willing to share. It's ccross, that's CCROSS at chantecross.com. And then there's also my Instagram, which is international_counselor on Instagram. So you can private message me through Instagram or follow my journey on Instagram. There's pictures of our time in Fiji as well as Egypt. And then, like I said, or you can just shoot me a direct email. I have no problem answering.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Many blessings to you and your children on your incredible journey. And we'll see you when you come to Mexico. You've got to make Mexico on your stop. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.